Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Keith Andrew Network. I am your host, Keith Andrew, the one and only Keith Andrew. And yes, I do have a fat neck and I'm trying to get rid of it. But I am your host, Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, and you should prove to them you can still amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. That being said, it's going to be a half hour, 33 minutes of your time. I'm working on the time. It used to be 37 minutes, but we will see how it goes. I'm trying to knock the time down as we go along. About a half hour, 33 minutes, and starting off, what can you tell me about yourself?
Well, my name's Debbie Munro. I've been an actor / voice actor for almost 27 years, so I've been doing it a long time. I'm all about passion and doing what you love, so this was very dear to my heart because I do believe anything can be accomplished if you set your mind to it. So I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
The honor's all mine, and like I said, you're supporting your cause, making a new friend out of it. And
Absolutely.
starting off, I'm going to ask you some easy questions, some hard-hitting ones. So the first two questions right off the bat. How was life growing up? And when you were in high school and college, did you ever do any sports?
Okay, so life growing up was fairly interesting. I grew up in a single mom home, and she had to work a lot, so I had probably freedoms I probably shouldn't have had. I ended up being a runaway teenager for a short time in my life, so I lived a fairly interesting younger life. I became a mom by the age of 16, so I was a teen mom, and it was a great thing for me because I really did want to be a mom at that time, and I raised a very healthy girl who's now 31 years old, and I have 3 grandkids and another girl who's 22 and 2 stepdaughters, so I have a nice big family now as a result. Other than that, I started broadcasting at about 19, so really after I had my baby, that's when I kind of had a more normal life, I think, after that, even though it was young. As far as sports go and stuff in school, I played basketball, but I wasn't as sporty as I was artsy. So I did a lot of the theater stuff, and any of the acting or performing things was more what I was attracted to.
All right. Well, what about, did you ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids, or not into the whole human pyramid stuff?
No, I haven't done a human pyramid, but I have to tell you the best experience I've ever seen with a human pyramid was pretty cool. I was in Tarragona, Spain, and it's called Tower of Men.
Oh, the human tower.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a competition they do every year, I believe. And it was as if it was a huge sporting event because there was so many people there. It was just massive, and it was quite interesting because in the ring, basically, which was like a bull ring, it was just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teams. And the teams were all wearing the same color shirts. So each team would be in a white shirt, and then the other team would be in a red shirt. So all you could see was color. And then they would get together and they would tower over each other by holding their arms over each other's shoulders and create a barricade and then increase. And they got to seven men high. And then on the 7th man, it would be a little boy who would climb up all the men to get to the top. And he was light enough to be able to handle the top. So that was a pretty cool experience. But I've never towered anyone myself.
I always wanted to do one of those. I'm a loser.
I don't think that makes you a loser. I think it makes it fascinating, right? It's just something that not everybody thinks of. So I think it's a cool experience. Sure.
Now, my next question is, what did you major in?
I majored in arts, basically arts and performance. So I did have an interesting high school time, and in my college, I only took broadcasting, so I didn't take a professional college. I took a community college. But for me, I dropped out of high school before I got pregnant, and then I went back to high school afterwards. So really the only thing I focused on was just getting good grades, getting out of there, and then getting a normal job. So performance is probably the best and safest answer for me.
Yeah. Just throwing it out there. Hypothetically, if I had told you I'm looking for someone I'm looking for a couple people to be my brand ambassadors for my cause, but I'm not able to pay you. Would you be interested in still helping me out?
I absolutely support what you're doing, so I'm on board, absolutely, or I wouldn't be here today, for sure.
No, I appreciate it. We can always talk about it off the air. Now, my next question I was going to ask you, while on the subject of brand ambassadors, what is the difference from being a brand ambassador to a spokesperson, or is it the same thing?
I actually don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure. I mean, I think, in my opinion, of what I believe it would be is a spokesperson more represents a company, whereas a brand ambassador could represent a brand. So that could be a person, that could be a company. So I think it has a little more wiggle room as a brand ambassador versus a spokesperson really speaks for a company, and that's usually a corporate kind of stereotype, I guess.
All right. Now, my next question I was going to ask you is because my show is about disabilities and everything. Have you ever worked with people with disabilities? And besides me, I can't say that with a straight face, but have you worked with people with disabilities? And are you willing to work with people with disabilities?
I do. In fact, the beautiful thing about the arts industry, as far as where I'm involved, so I'm involved in the voice acting industry. That's where I am primarily. I'm also a voice acting coach. So I get to work with people with disabilities often. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean you can't do a lot of things. So the voice industry is wonderful. All you need is a voice and good acting chops, and then some other special skills depending on the avenue you take. So some people have a home studio, therefore they might need some more experience depending on the mobility of their hands. So it's just really going to depend on where the disabilities are. But we have in this industry people who are blind reading script, which is amazing. I find that just so amazing. We even have a few people that are deaf, which I think is even more profound, because that would be very difficult to do because you're not auditorily hearing everything. Yet there's a few people that are able to accomplish that. One of my favorite students right now, she has cerebral palsy, and she has a lot of limitations, but her drive and her initiative just make me invest in her 190%, and I'm just so proud of her, which is again what draws me to you, because I love to see someone trying to fight the odds, and there shouldn't be a stereotype, because every disability is different and every learning capacity is different, whether you have a disability or not. So it's so wonderful to see that our industry is very embracive towards disabilities. The one student I'm working with right now, though, she has a wheelchair. So we do have accessibility issues for her for auditions and things like that when she's going into the city. It's more costly. It's more time consuming. She has to have studios that can accommodate her. So I've been pushing her towards working from home more so that she doesn't have to deal with a lot of the stuff that she would have to deal with special needs. And in the industry of the arts, as much as there's a lot of heart in the industry, the clients in the end just care about getting the project done.
Yeah.
They don't care about what happens towards it. So they're not patient. And that doesn't mean they don't have heart. It just means it's all pocketbook, pocketbook, pocketbook. So they're not as patient as we'd like to see. So what my job is to encompass the talent to work with their needs so that they're not hindering on the client's needs as well. So they have to be readily available, and you can't necessarily take 2 hours extra to get there. You might have to leave 2 hours extra instead, things like that. So it's very wonderful to know that, again, our industry can really accommodate a lot of special needs services.
No, absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you're deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. If you're capable of doing something, you should go and prove to them you can sum out to something. Just give me some examples,
And really, they have to work even harder than we are, because they have much more to prove, and they're dealing with obstacles that we don't necessarily have. So, I mean, it's just like my hat's just off to them. Like, that's just the hardest working individual in the world who can go past something like that and just keep persevering. It's wonderful.
No, I guess you would say I'm a perfect example. I was labeled handicapped, mentally disturbed, retarded. I read and learn at a 5th grade level. But look at what I was capable of creating. And I'm showing people, say, hey, you're never going to amount to anything. You're not qualified. But look at what I'm able to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, I'm so proud of you and excited to be a part of your world just because of what you're taking on. I think it's wonderful.
No, I appreciate it. I do have some ideas for you off the air. But my next question I was going to ask you was everything going on in the world today. Because, as you know, Toys R Us is going out of business. So I want your honest opinion. Are you... Oh, it's a two-part in one. First part is that, are you a online shopper? And two, do you think the online industry is killing the normal industry?
I think I have been an online shopper. Absolutely. There's certain things I can't find in my local areas that I can find elsewhere. So I tend to do a lot of overseas shipping more than anything local. I also find better prices a lot of times. So that's definitely something that we all look for. I think it's much like the Walmarts that came in. They are changing the industry 100%. I think that's just a given. I think that the online world has completely changed our society, period, and it's going to be progressively worse in some areas and progressively better in others. And I think that the most important value in that is, I've always believed that, I mean, we can try and fight the Walmarts of the world that people try to fight because of many reasons that they, putting out ma and pa, using lower wages, things like that. There's a lot of reasons that a lot of people want to get rid of the Walmarts or didn't want the Walmarts to come in. And I understand them, but at the same time, it's not something that really anybody could fight. So the best avenue I believe everybody needs to take at this point is, how can I accommodate both now? How can I be on board with the online shopping as opposed to being the one who gets ousted because of it? So for me, I think all companies need to stay on board with technology and not fight it, because it's a losing battle if you try to fight it. So you might as well try and join it and find your way in,
That's true, but I like going to stores, having a human interact.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, there are some humans who kind of wish you didn't have to interact with.
Well, you have people that they're probably catering to originally is probably people who couldn't leave their home and needed some services like that. So that's fantastic that there's services like that. But if you look at technology, not just the shopping side of it, but just technology in general, it's reclusing people. And so I concur with you 100%. I need to be around people. I work with my voice all day long, and I do get to interact with people online, which is fantastic. That gets me through my day. But when I go do my grocery shopping, I work from home. So I don't ever have to leave the house, really, unless there's something I have to leave the house for. So when I go shopping or do my groceries or do errands or things like that, I need that interaction time. Otherwise, I'd be quite lonely at home. And there's a stat done that the STDs and the sexual rate is down for younger people now. And they're attributing that to technology because they're not leaving their home. They're video gaming and they can't get past that. And so as much as that seems like that'd be a good thing, yay, STD rates are down, yay, it is. But if the sexual rate is down, period, that means that the whole birthing of our country and our countries are changing. So that means there's going to be less births, which is scary because then that's not repopulation. So I am a little nervous about what's coming next. It may not be of my generation, but I'm nervous for it because I think it's creating a lot of reclusive people, and I think that's a really scary place. I'm also in a band, and we've been told that the next way to kind of go with the band is to go virtual. So we record everything live from our home, but you're going to sit in your house and watch the concert, and for us, that's just depressing. Like, how am I supposed to go connect with my audience and go touch you and feel like you were there, a part of my show, if I don't even ever get to see you? So I think it's a scary thing in many ways.
No, I agree with you. And two things on that. Number one, people with special needs, I guess I'm in that category, like it or not. I don't drive. So when you don't drive, okay, it's good. You have food delivered to you. You can still take the taxi and interact with people. But that's saying, yeah, I don't want to do anything today. I know that was a bad camera angle on my part.
But, I wasn't looking at all. I was paying attention to my own. I'm like, oh, lighting's kind of bad.
So, you look at it, like you go out, you can't drive, but you have food delivered to you. But at the same time, you can take a taxi. But at the same time, it's saying, yeah, I don't feel like doing anything today. I want to play my Xbox. I want to be a hermit for the rest of my life. And that's where, it's saying, the ratings are dropping is because who wants to live like that? And you
Yeah.
mentioned concerts. Oh, go ahead, and I'm missing my next part.
No, no, no. Go ahead. I was just agreeing with you for sure.
And then we go on concerts. I like going to the beach. I like going to the park. I like sitting outside, but saying, okay, you do a concert and I'm going to sit in my room. I guess that's fine because, not a lot of people. For an example, WrestleMania was this past weekend. And you watch it on TV, but then you get bored. But if you go and sit there and be interactive, and you're like, oh, this is so cool. Going to sporting events, going to the beach, going outside.
Yeah.
Or just getting off your ass and doing something. It's always better to be interactive than just saying, what's on TV today? Just flick through the channels. And it's kind of like, who wants to live like that?
I heard a guy on Dr. Phil's show. I watch Dr. Phil a lot. And there was a guy on there. He was a reverend. And he was quite older, too. I was quite surprised to hear him have the subject of the millennials. And he was talking about the millennials. And he wrote a book. And he talked about, so the millennials becomes my oldest daughter's generation, which is 30-year-olds. Nice. The newest generation, the teenagers right now, they really haven't labeled yet, and so he gave a name which I think is the perfect suiting name for them, which is called the push button generation. And I think it's a really suiting name, and I think it's self-explanatory, but when he got a little more deep into it, it was really profound to me because he explained that this is the generation where my generation, the parent, started saying, oh, this is easier. Here, take the phone. Here, take the game. Okay, now I don't have to deal with my kid for a little while. Now I can go off and do stuff. And it's not just lazy parenting. It's also the kids begging to be on it. I mean, it's ridiculous how much they're begging to be on it. So what happens with that is that's self-explanatory. It's a push-button generation. But what's happened is this generation is used to everything coming at the touch of a button.
Yeah.
So they see our house. They see our cars. They see the things that we've worked for 40-something years to obtain. And they want it at the push of a button. Not just because they want it easy, but they literally want it at the push of a button. Come on, where's my career? Here, go. And so it's very confusing for that push button generation. And at the same time, it's so profound for us to watch because we've caused it. I believe we've caused it. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I believe we've caused it. We've allowed reasoning to get in the way of corporal punishment, which is good, sort of. we lost a lot of structure in our parenting, and we reasoned a lot, and I think it's great that we're all dealing with emotions now and dealing with it, but there's a sense of authority that's missing. And so the parents are sometimes being ruled by the child, and that's creating chaos in our society, and I'm hoping that your generation can start working towards changing that because we screwed up. And so getting more reasoning with kids and giving them more push-button technology is not going to save anybody. It's actually hindering people. So I put on like media strikes on Sundays. There, short of my work, I'm on call 24 hours a day, so I really do need to be by my email. However, I can still give up hours at a time where I'm not on it, and I'm not on there in social engagement. I'm actually on there for work. So we have a social media strike, so there's no media whatsoever on the Sundays. And that way, I force them to play games again. I force them to spend time, go on walks, just drives, just the old-fashioned way we used to live. And I think it's so important that we all do this as a society now, at least a few times a week, because it's changing and we're letting it. We're just watching it go by and not doing enough to make a difference,
It's sad. It really is. I agree with you. If I had a kid, you'd be like, no iPhones, none of that crap. You're going to have what I had. A Game Boy, a video game, spend time with your parents, get off your ass, go outside, do something. You're not going to be, They
don't want for anything because the parents will drive them to wherever they want to go. The parents will buy them whatever they want to buy. It used to be when the Christmas tree was there, there'd be 2 or 3 presents under there for each person. Now there's 5,000 presents under there, and each family is spending on average $1,000. It's a little under, but $1,000 per person for Christmas. And so if you're accumulating the whole year of socks and underwear and all that stuff and toothbrush, okay, but it's not. It's the bigger Game Boy and it's the bigger gift and it's the better this. And then the students don't, or the children don't learn how to earn. They're just not learning how to earn, and so their work ethic is going to be in danger. Now, there's exceptions. Obviously, there's some really good kids out there that have good work ethic. They're not computer addicts, but at the same time, this generation needs to be computer addicts. They have to be, because that's where all the work is going to be. So it's a balance. There's a balancing act, and again, your age category, I believe, I don't know your specific age, but my guess is the generation that has to help us change it. You know.
When I said, when you mentioned your daughter's 30, and he's like, you mentioned the old generation, I said, thanks. I don't know if you heard me. But, I was born in 88.
Okay, yeah, so you're really close to my daughter. She was born in 86. And so I believe it's that generation now that has to recognize what we've done, listen to us, learn from us, and now make a change, And from what I see, not a lot of that's happening. And so I hope eventually it will saturate at some point. But I have this kind of a weird theory, I guess, but I have this theory that in life, from what we've seen in factuality, is eventually the world gets extremely whatever, and it floods, or it destroys itself, or the world doesn't destroy itself, but it destroys what's on it. The dinosaurs are gone, the generations are gone, all these things. And I can't help but wonder if we're getting to an explosion point again, because there's so much going on everywhere at once that it seems more excessive than ever before. Maybe it's because we're so in touch now, I'm not sure, but the weather is changing to a drastic amount. And so I just think this is all a part of a big burst that's going to happen. What that means, I don't know yet, but I believe there's a big burst that's going to make change. And I'm wondering deep down, maybe, just maybe, millions of years ago, before dinosaurs, maybe there was computers. Maybe there was all this stuff, and it's just depleted with the earth and the water, and how would we ever really truly know? So we may have already been here at this point where the technology has taken over so much that it's changing the environment. But I hope that everybody stays on top of it and not just watches it go by.
Well, look at Mars. Mars had life on it. It had air and water, and you sometimes wonder what happened to them.
Yeah, of course. Exactly. And I think we're all very naive to assume that we're so powerful. The world will just get rid of us when it needs to, and it'll start all over again, just like mulch. I find mulch to be the most fascinating thing on our planet, and I think it's very taken for granted, where you're taking food and just shoving it into a pile. The bugs start eating it, the worms start eating it, and they poop it out. We're all poop in the end. We're all just crap, and that recreates Earth. And then that earth rejuvenates more things, and it creates the carrot that you ate, and it creates all these other things. So we're all a part of this. And I had a meteorologist tell me one time, because I made the statement, if we're not careful, the world will destroy the earth. People say that comment, and he said, no. The earth will never be destroyed. The earth will destroy the humans before it will ever destroy itself. And I thought, that's profound. That's how powerful that earth is. It's way, way bigger than us.
It's true. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break, and with the last remaining time, I'm going to pass the show over to you.
Oh, awesome.
Arlene Schofield.
My name is Shireen Snow.
My name is Carla A. Miles.
Diana Camuto.
This is Christine Dunford.
I'm me, Eden.
Caroline Macy. This is Walker Fannin.
I'm Camille Dixon.
I'm Dates Wardam.
My name is Linda Preston, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network.
Me, Mark Medley.
Hi, everybody, this is Mark Neely.
Barry Babick.
This is Peter Bruno.
My name is Kyle Collier.
This is Julio Santiago, better known as Dynamite.
I'm Richard Epcar.
Lawrence Chow.
This is Kerrigan Mahan.
And this is Goldar.
And we both support
Keith Andrew.
My name is Ron Wasserman, and I am supporting Keith Andrew and what he is doing, and you better do the same, or I'm going to come kick your ass.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. I'm here as Debbie Munro, and I just want to say thank you for sticking with us.
Awesome. I'm thinking if we could talk more about disability for a moment, because I think what you're doing is so powerful and will affect so many people in so many different ways. What made you kind of get into this? Like, I'd like to actually reverse it a little bit right now and ask you some questions. What made you pursue this, especially the talk show variation of it?
All right. When I was in high school, I had a talk show, And originally, I wanted to do a morning show because don't mind me, that's a niche. With school I went to had TVs in every classroom. And I was like, okay, let's use the TVs. Why is your TVs there? Oh, yeah, we used to have a morning show, but we didn't do it anymore. Sorry, this trying to catch my breath. So we're pretty much, they had a morning show, they didn't do it anymore. I said, okay, let's do something. Okay, you have to go talk to the assistant principal or principal, vice president of the school board or whatever. And I don't want to do it. I'm not who I am now, so I didn't want to do it. So I said, okay, I will do a morning show, a radio show. At the same time, there's a group of kids who came up with it. It's like, oh, they did the morning show. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I came up with the idea. Keith, you didn't come up with anything. It's all fine. You want to have a rivalry? Let's have a rivalry. So it's the morning show versus the Keith Andrew show or the Keith Andrew Power Hour or whatever name I had. And I just created a radio show. And once I graduated, I still wanted to do it. I worked at North Face, and I had a friend there. And I was like, let's do a show. We were, I can turn my basement into a studio. I can find something to use for desks. He wanted it to be a rap show, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You can try to cater to everyone.
Yeah.
Because I was going to do my segment, and I'm going to give him his segment. And then I went, okay, fair is fair. And that fell through. I got sick. Long story about that. And when I recovered, I went to West Point. I was trained as a custodian. I am now certified to work anywhere in New York State as a custodian.
Nice.
Both in janitorial. I tried working at Home Goods, didn't work out. I worked there like for a day or so. Didn't want to do it. I was sitting home collecting disability money. I'm like, I don't want to do this. It's fine, I get money, but I don't want to sit at home for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I use my dad for an inspiration. I use my brother for an inspiration. And I got tired of using my disability as a crutch. But what really broke the camel's back was the fact I used to sit with my family. And I'm the youngest out of four brothers and one sister. And my youngest before me, my brother, said to my family, I don't know what to do with my life, I don't know what to do. My dad's like, go take the state exam, do this, do that, talk to your sister, talk to your brother, they know people. And I said, what about me? And they said, what about you? One, you don't shut up. Two, you piss people off. Okay, yes, I do. You piss people off. You're not educated. You're not qualified. You read and learn at a 5th grade level. And I was just classified as being retarded now. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show you with a disability I'm going to make you look at what I'm able to accomplish. And thanks to you, we're back up to 486. And, go ahead.
I'm growing.
Yeah, I'm growing. When I first started the show, I wish I had a nickel for every time I said this. When I first started my show, I did 72 phone interviews. Because I wanted to work with Blog Talk Radio. And it was an old radio base. Well, MP3s and WAV files, all that, this was just audio base. And I was still having panic attacks. I was still having social anxiety. That's like, I'm talking on the phone. Why am I still, getting anxious? Why I'm still getting nauseated? So one guy said to me, you have this great format. Why aren't you as big or bigger when you claim to be? Why don't you have people following you? Why don't you have people helping you? Oh, no. What do I tell me? You said, no. If it's not meant to be,
Yeah,
then...
not crazy. Yeah, they say, why are you doing it? And you say, that's what I actually I'm learning that I love about you. Okay, well, why not? Let's do that then. Why don't you help me? I'll tell you what I love about you. We don't know each other very well, and we're new to each other. But what I already know about you is that you're not afraid to ask for anything.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to ask for help, guidance, or ask if you can help or be a guidance. And that says a lot about you. It says you're a giver and a taker, and you kind of have to be to really find your own footing. And so you've really overcome a lot of odds and had to fight a lot of things that a lot of people don't ever experience in their lifetime, where, you know, they think they're being bullied, but, you know, there's some comparisons that are much more extreme. And a lot of people aren't told, well, you're uneducated and you can't do this and you can't do that. And so I'm so proud of you that you took that as a lift to go, oh, really? Tell me I can't. Let me show you how much more I can do then. I think it's so amazing, and I think it's fantastic for other people to learn that they can. And I think like I started off pitching TV shows and stuff many years ago. I would like to be a talk show host, but I've had a taste of fame, and I don't really love fame. Fame isn't a very pretty place, and so I'm leery about it because of that reason only. But I really found a lot of people would say, like, so for example, graphic designers would argue with me all the time. I would say, okay, I want this. I'm extremely creative, but out of the box creative. So I'd say, I want this, and they're like, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, when have you tried? When have you ever tried to tell me you can't do that? I understand it breaks the norm of what you've learned. But if people don't try to break that boundary, you never learn what more there is to learn.
Right.
So you're doing that and being an inspiration. And with people like myself and other people who have a lot of followers, you know, together we can help you get a little more recognition, which is what you're looking for. It reminds me of that thing that happened forever ago where the person placed it on Kijiji or wherever, or Craigslist, wherever it was. They posted, hey, I have a paperclip. What can you trade me for it? And it ended up being cars and hotels and extravagant trips. And I mean, it's just an amazing thing when people do put their minds together, how much can be accomplished in a short amount of time. So there's the positive of technology.
No, I agree with you. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air.
Sure.
But wrapping up our interview segment, my two questions for you is, one, are you on social media? Are you on LinkedIn, Twitter, States 32? Are you on any of that fun stuff?
I am on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Alignable and a few other programs. Prior to this year, I had an assistant manning all that for me, so I'm just relearning it all again now. I find I don't have a lot of time for the social media, even though it's very necessary. I really do utilize it more as a business media.
All right. And my last question for you, wrapping up our talk show, is when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first reaction, and what made you say yes?
Well, my first reaction was it was a random connection on LinkedIn. So I was leery right away because I don't know you, and I get a lot of scams. I get a ton of scams. So I was just leery to see. And then you started asking me more specific questions, and that is when I learned you had special needs, actually. And that's when and so I guess it's kind of sad in a way, because that's actually what really gravitated me towards you, because it made me see you in a different light. So I tell one of my students who's currently pursuing voiceover, I tell her, you know, I can actually get you in more doors because you have special needs, because there's something unique about you. And so that gave me something unique. That gave me something less spam, filtered. And it was like, wow, this is someone that is touching on my heartstrings right now. And I love helping. So I felt that, and I love talk shows. And of course I was honored to be asked to be on your show in any capacity. So I was immediately gravitated once I learned what your actual shtick was and why it was happening.
No, absolutely. And, you know, for the record, you know, a lot of people like to criticize me, but this is not, you know, bullshit. This is not scam. I'm not scamming anyone. I'm not doing a sob story. Whatever excuse you want to use, or whatever labels you want to throw at me, you know where to stick them.
Yeah, that's good. But I'm glad you're that tough, because we all need to be. It's amazing.
No, I have no filter. So when something, I'm like CM Punk, you know, a former wrestler. I'm like CM Punk. I'm straight edge. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I walk to the beat of my own drum. I have no filter, and that's sometimes why I rub people the wrong way, because I just blur it out instead of thinking, you know, my friend, who's also my boss, said to me, I know you're a good person, but when you say something, you're a little bit raw. And I'm like, is that a good thing? There's no in between with you.
Right.
But even my brother would say to me, you're something. Because there's no in between. You're either straightforward, straight ahead, or I'm going to be defensive.
Yeah. I think that I can relate very well to your personality. I'm extremely forward. There is nothing I wouldn't ask anybody at any time, anywhere, any place. The one thing I've learned, I teach communication for a living. That's basically what I do for a living, is communicate. And so one of the things I've learned is how to do it with tact. And that's a very difficult task to learn, because I believe, so I'm working on a book right now all about honesty and truth, because I think that's what will change the world, is everybody learning to speak their truth. And you're already doing that, which is so important. The reason you get controversy with that is, A, you're speaking your opinion, and a lot of people are afraid of that. But B, because like you're saying, you might not have the tact that you need to be able to think that through. So I do encourage to always learn tact. I think we as a society need to. But I do believe 100% you should always be honest about your feelings. And if you feel like asking someone this question, I think you just should. Or if you feel like saying this about someone when they're giving you a conversation, I think you should. But I think there's a way that you always need to learn empathy, so that you're saying in the way that person can listen to it, because not everybody listens the same.
Yeah.
And your message is only as important as your listener. So what you have to say doesn't matter if your listeners aren't listening. So your listeners are more important than your message, believe it or not, because you need them to hear it. And so I work extremely hard. I do it through writing, though. I'll write out exactly how I feel. So let's say it's a stressful situation. I'll write exactly how I feel, all swears, capitals, you name it, just blah, 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 verbal diarrhea. And then I'll rewrite it a whole bunch of ways, in ways I've learned through counseling and self-help and things like that, of how to say it, but without blame and ridicule. And it's so effective, because you can still say what exactly it is you want to say without necessarily, affecting anybody else, and they're going to hear you differently. So I respect the honesty and candidness. I work best by it. I think it's foolish to be hidden in our innuendos and what we want, because we will accomplish much more as a society and as an individual if we're just honest about what we're looking for.
No, absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air about wrapping up our interview segment. It was a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 with you down the road.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.